Welcome to Season 2 of Keeping It 100, Real Conversations with Jacqui, where each week we will discuss life experiences with subject matter experts. Stay tuned for this next episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Keeping It 100, Real Conversations with Jacqui, and where we talk about real life experiences. And today I have a very special guest, and we're going to be discussing life after heart disease or life during heart disease. I'm going to give this special guest an awesome introduction because he's very, very dear to me, and he's actually my husband, Colin Rowat. So we have him here today, and he agreed to kind of join our podcast. How you doing, Colin?
Pretty darn good. Happy to be on my wife's podcast.
I love it. So anyway, Colin, so tell us a little bit about yourself and just general conversation about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Jackie's husband. I was diagnosed with heart disease last year, and it's changed our life quite a bit. And I'm happy to be here today to share my experience.
Good, awesome. And how was your week today? This week.
This week?
I know, it's like we don't live together, right, guys?
This week has been awesome. The sun is shining. It's been hot, so I can't complain.
Good. Well, you were working outside all day, so I'm sure you're getting enough sun going on, buddy.
You can see it in my cheeks,
Anyway, so just not to keep you guys waiting too long, we actually just want to I want to dive into, so as maybe some of you may know, Colin did go through a heart adventure or event.
A major cardiac
event. Yeah. So we brought him on the show just to discuss basically living with heart disease and the obstacles that you face, the challenges that you face every single day, how it's changed your life and all that good stuff or bad stuff or however you want to look at it. Because, the glass is always half full in my opinion, right?
Absolutely.
It's changed our lives a lot, I would say.
Absolutely. Some for the better.
Mm-hmm, right? So let's recap to about a year ago before your cardiac event. I'm sure our audience would like to know all about it and maybe just kind of tell the whole story.
Yeah, so almost a year ago, July 27th of 2020. Before that time, I was feeling quite healthy. I was working out at CrossFit, training for my first CrossFit competition. I lost a ton of weight. I was well under 200 pounds at that time.
You're doing great.
Well, thank you. And we were practicing a very healthy lifestyle, I believe, and just being healthy in general and embracing a healthy lifestyle until July 27th at 7:30 in the morning. I passed out at the CrossFit gym and don't really remember much, so I can't talk about that part because it was all blank to me.
That's fair.
But
So anyway, so I just to kind of go back to just prior to the heart attack. Remember, like the time when we kind of figured out that something wasn't right and you started feeling like also different symptoms, even though we didn't know what it was at the time. Do you want to just kind of chat about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we've learned a little bit more about heart disease and heart problems, I was feeling heartburn and acid reflux kind of feeling every time we did our morning workouts and stuff like that, running, bike riding, weightlifting, stuff like that. So turns out that acid reflux is the leading sign for men to tell you that your heart is having oxygen issues. So it's I never knew that before.
And it felt like heartburn, right?
It felt like heartburn or acid reflux, maybe just a little bit off, not exactly like that. But so your heart has no other way to tell you that you're having oxygen issues. So it sends a signal to your brain that you're having heartburn.
Colin, you want to tell everybody how old you are if you don't care? Of course you don't have to.
During my heart attack, I was 36 years old.
Yeah, so fairly young too, right? Yeah, exactly.
And that's not uncommon either, as we are learning.
We totally started learning after your heart attack when, I had a few people reach out to me and let me know how, different people around our age group had experienced the same thing, but nobody ever talks about it. And that's why we're on this platform. And this is just to share your story. And thank you so much for sharing your story, because, oh my goodness, it takes a lot of courage for you to be able to share it with the world, right?
Well, absolutely, and
Yeah.
I'm a true believer now, living with heart disease, to let more people know
Mm,
about the signs,
mhm,
the risks. The 660,000 Americans are diagnosed with it every year,
mhm, mhm.
and that's just an American stat. Canada, it's really high as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
we need to let the world know about this.
Totally. I know I totally agree. I remember like even that morning when I got that phone call that you had a heart attack, and obviously it was like the most terrifying thing that
Yeah,
anyone could ever wanna like. Nobody wants to get a phone call like
yeah,
that. You know, even that morning you woke up, regular day, and you went for your early morning workout. You felt great, and it just happened like that. I mean, obviously there were symptoms prior to that that
yeah.
we overlooked, but we had a feeling something wasn't right, but we never in a
Yeah, I even thought
million
it
years
was had to do with my heart.
with cardiac,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I thought you may be asthmatic
yeah, yeah.
or like something
Uh,
respiratory, right?
Even my doctors were putting it off that it was a heart issue
Yeah,
leading up to my heart attack. That's another thing that a lot of doctors don't think of when you're at 36, 37
yeah,
years old.
yeah. No,
So
it's pretty
I
scary.
can't blame them for that. It's the way of thinking that a 36-year-old is too young to
Yeah.
have a major cardiac event like that.
Yeah, but it seems to happen quite often.
Yes.
Anyway, so fast forwarding to now after the heart attack and you were in hospital, like what was going through your head at the time? What was going like, you know what I mean? Like just tell us all, walk us through all your experience
Yeah.
there.
What was going through my head while waking up in the hospital? Obviously, I was at the CrossFit gym when I had my heart attack, and I had some very
Mhm,
nice CrossFit coaches do CPR on me,
mhm.
and had damaged some of my ribs during CPR, which they were supposed
That's
to.
very common, yeah.
Yeah,
Being a fitness professional and going through CPR and first aid,
yeah,
we're taught that if you break a rib, don't feel bad. You'd
yeah.
rather do that than not save that
So
lives.
waking up, I didn't even know I had a heart attack.
Mm,
I was just wondering why my ribs were so sore.
yeah.
That was the most pain I've ever been through. Really, is the broken ribs. But later on in that day, after many tests, meeting up with a heart surgeon and him coming in my room with a piece of paper and a little thing to write on
Mhm.
and asking me to sign off on heart surgery. That's kind of where it really hit me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of questions for a lot of the specialists that were around me at that time, like, why do I need heart surgery? Like, this has got to
Mhm.
be a dream.
Mm.
I'm only 36 years old. We eat healthy, we live healthy. Like, there's no way.
Mhm.
And so that's where it really hit home is when
Mm.
they signed that. And a couple of days later, July 31st, they got me in for emergency bypass surgery.
Mm.
And after that, recovery was a little bit long, but they did cut me open, so it's to be expected.
Yeah, it was a tough one, but I mean, you pulled through. You're fine. I
Yep.
mean, you made it through the recovery at least,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
now it's just a matter of how do we move on from there, right?
Yeah, the initial heart surgery, I didn't really feel anything, or it was
Hmm.
a piece of cake, but the recovery was pretty hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you were recovered and well, at least physically, I mean, from the surgery, what are some of the things that go through your mind or like that you've been doing to basically just kind of turn your life around and make your life as enjoyable as maybe not before, but make it the best way
Yeah.
you know how.
Absolutely. Yeah, now that I know that I'll be living with heart disease for the rest of my life,
Hmm.
it's something that we cannot get rid of.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I've done a lot of research. There's places in the world that don't have heart disease, including some of the Mediterranean countries,
Hmm.
places in Japan, and stuff like that. So I really took up to reading why they don't have heart disease, or heart disease not very prominent there.
Hmm.
So as I like to cook, and
Yeah. So just so you
yeah.
guys know, he's the cook of the family. He loves to cook, and he's been on a vegetarian slash vegan train. Where at first I was a little,
Yeah,
I love my meat. I mean, as you know, we both do, but it's a lot of like lifestyle changes
yeah.
that we had to kind of tweak around.
So
Yeah.
yeah, some of the differences between North America and the Mediterranean is
Yeah.
they really focus on their whole foods, their
Mm,
vegetarian foods, that sort of stuff.
mm,
So we've been playing around with different recipes on that and experimenting with vegetarian foods and seeing how that really affects me going forward in my life.
Yeah.
I hope to live for another 50 to 60 years. I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to live with heart disease for that whole time. So I got to do things to make that prolonged to as long
Mhm.
as I can.
Mhm.
You know.
And how's it been for you, knowing how you can't necessarily, at the moment at least, you can't work out the way you used to. You can't do the activities that you love to do, like go bike riding and hiking and all, and hunting. You're into hunting,
Yeah.
and all these activities. Like, walk us through, what have you done to try and navigate, because I'm sure it's not an easy thing, to
Yeah.
transition from being able to do all these things and now having facing the challenges of mitigating your heart disease
Yeah.
lifestyle, right? Yeah.
Well, there's two aspects to that,
Mhm.
both mentally and physically.
Mm.
Physically, I can transition to walking and doing lighter cardiac exercises
Mhm.
quite easily. The mental part's been a little bit harder. There's a lot of things that I absolutely loved to do before this that I cannot do now. So getting through that mentally has been a challenge. The thoughts of, will I ever be able to do these again?
Mm.
Again, like I'm hoping to squeeze in another 50 to 60 years of my life. Obviously, I really want to go bike riding again in my lifetime.
Mm. Of
So
course.
that thought comes into my head all the time, and the specialists say, yes, it will come, it'll come. Just having to be patient is really draining on me as well.
Yeah.
So physically, it's been all right for the time being. I can
Mm.
probably handle it until I'm fully recovered. They say 1 to 3 years
Mhm.
from heart surgery. Mentally, it's been very draining.
Oh, for sure. And what are some of, do you want to share with the audience some of the things that you do to try and navigate the mental aspect of it, of just practicing that self-care, and you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
how do you go about it, like what
Um,
are your strategies, what's in your toolbox when it comes to that?
well, one thing I keep reminding myself is life comes before everything.
Hmm.
That's kind of my little saying to myself. I repeat that multiple times in my head.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that kind of helps me keep motivated to focus on self-care things, whether it be walking in Fish Creek Park in the nature
Absolutely.
and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Maybe a little taking time to not necessarily meditate, but taking time to put away the electronics and just kind of sit back and think about life and nothing else.
Mindful, like basically like mindful, being present, mindful
Yeah,
presence, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
mindful presence.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, walking, be mindful presence,
Mm.
and playing with my dogs and stuff like that, and embracing life,
Mm.
embracing the beautiful wife that I got in my life
Wow.
here, and all the things that we get
I
to do
try, you
together.
guys, I try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So being in the moment here and not thinking about other things that would, like work and stress and stuff like that.
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
And what have you found that, like during the pandemic as well, being stuck at home and not necessarily having a whole lot of, I mean, I guess, we're still going through a pandemic. It's just a little bit more relaxed now for now. What have you found that you tend to kind of gravitate towards, in your daily life, like now that you can go bike riding and do all the other things?
Yeah, we're lucky enough to live in a place where we can go for walks in
Hmm.
some very beautiful parks
Hmm.
and mountains and stuff like that.
Hmm.
No matter where you are in the world, I say embrace what you got around you.
It's true.
It's easy enough to go for a walk and an adventure and find other things to do.
Mm.
Whether it's along a river or in mountains, for in our case. Yeah, just experience what you got around you. The pandemic hasn't really affected me too much because we got so much around us that we haven't explored yet.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. I admire your positivity and the way you. And I mean, we live together, so I get to see how optimistic you are. Most of us, if there was a life changing thing like that, either we would basically kind of constantly feel sorry for ourselves. But I see that you don't necessarily do that. You every
Yeah.
day is always like, I got this. You're so upbeat. Like
Yeah.
you're probably more upbeat than I am. I mean, if you guys know, like I try to be as upbeat as I possibly could, but people always say, Jacqui, you're always so happy. I can't imagine anyone else being so happy and so upbeat all the time. I'm like, no, 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 no. Actually, there's somebody who's way more than I could ever be.
Yeah.
And that's you,
Well,
right?
yeah, going back to life comes before everything.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let heart disease beat me.
No. Yeah.
I'm going to beat heart disease.
I love that.
I'm going to show them who's boss here.
That's right.
Right?
High five. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to embrace everything I can, not stress out about like having to work and stuff like that. Embrace what's around me and what I already have.
Yeah.
And use those to bring in energies to beat heart disease.
So if you kind of look back before you found out that you had heart disease to looking now and just reassessing yourself, what would you say are the top, let's say, 5 things that you've noticed you've grown or like you've seen change in yourself? Like compare yourself from like a year ago to now. What would be your takeaway in that experience?
Absolutely. Probably the top one is awareness. Everybody's had Heart and Stroke Foundation at their door, knocking on the door for donations and stuff like that. Everybody's kind of heard a little bit about heart disease, cancers, all the different diseases and stuff like that. Awareness now that there's a massive population that have to live with these different diseases.
It's true, yeah.
And it puts a lot of strain on our healthcare system. It puts a lot of strain on the North American society that we don't know. So being aware that I'm one of 660,000 people in North America that are diagnosed with this each year. That's been very important for me to learn and be more aware.
Okay, I like that. Yeah.
Cardiac exercises is up there for sure as well. Before I would put aside walking as a cardiac exercise, but that does so many things. Whether it be exercise, being mindful, meditating. Keeping your stress levels down. Walking is so much benefit. It's basically free, other than buying walking shoes.
And it's also recommended that it's recommended that a human being or human adult should be walking at a minimum of 150. Not walking, but doing some form of like cardiovascular movements for about 150 minutes a week, and that averages about half an hour a day for 5 days. Which is absolutely doable. So I'm obviously being in fitness, I'll always advocate for prevention before the rehabilitation side of it. I'll always push for move your body. And you're so right, like being aware and just incorporating those cardiovascular movements, definitely gets us that much, one step closer to preventing, a very life-changing event, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then, so awareness and the different cardiac exercises that are available out there that we've kind of put aside and would rather ride a bike, maybe a spin bike or go running or something like that. Walking does so much as well.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways of getting your heart rate up, as you know, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we have a spin bike at home, and then, I'm more of like, I'm not much of a runner just because of I love running doesn't love me, but spin is a great way of getting your heart rate up. Going for a walk, like a nice 1 hour walk, moderate pace is a great way that we do quite often. Golfing, if you're golfing, maybe walking instead of cut it, right? Walk the golf course. It's like at least a good 5K, if not more, depending on if it's a 9 or 18 hole, right?
One more thing that has probably grown on me, and I keep bringing this back because I do like cooking and all. Researching a Mediterranean diet and playing around with different fish and fish recipes. We've had some great fish meals lately.
Yeah.
And
vegetarian lately.
Absolutely,
we've been on the vegetarian
Before we would cook a nice steak and some potatoes and stuff like that, and then
and some vegetables.
And some vegetables, yes, of course, lots of vegetables. But and pair that with a nice wine or something like that. We do like to pair our food with a nice wine, and we've really learned that we can do that with a fish diet as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many different types of seafood and fish out there
Absolutely.
that we can play around with.
And a lot of them are low in fat and good for your heart.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
so Colin, just okay, just to kind of finish off things here, do you have any takeaway, anything that you want to share with your audience, advice, or you know what I mean, like tips of what to do if you're feeling any of the symptoms? You can even go through your symptoms again, just to
Yeah.
share with the audience in case some people have these symptoms, but
Yeah.
they also again were like us where we thought maybe it's something else, or maybe it's
Yeah.
just heartburn, or maybe it's just this. So what would be your takeaway? What do you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I tell all my friends and family now is don't be afraid to demand a stress test from your doctor.
Be your
It's
own advocate,
yes.
right? Mhm.
Even if your doctor says no, you don't need it. Be your own advocate and say, "I want a stress test." Especially here in Canada, like we've already paid for our healthcare through our taxes and all, so we deserve what we ask for. Stress test is 10 minutes on a treadmill with some wires hooked up to you, and they can tell a lot from a stress
That's
test.
true.
We could have caught this many years ago and saved me a lot of heartache
Hmm.
if I had been more aware of the different tests that are available.
Hmm.
Again,
Cholesterol probably would be one of those
yeah,
too.
getting your cholesterol checked for sure.
Hmm.
As for symptoms, heartburn in men is the top symptom. I believe for women, it's a pain in their back and their
And that
shoulders.
shoulders too, yeah. Women, it's like pain in the back, shoulder. It could be a form of heartburn too. It's just
Yeah,
it's very gray with women. I think when it comes to angina. Yeah, I mean, but there's just so many different symptoms. I'll put
yeah,
them. Actually, I'll put a list of symptoms on the description of this
yeah.
podcast as well. So in
And
case you want to take a peek at it.
yeah, feel free to go to www.heartandstrokefoundation.ca.
Yeah.
They got a ton of information,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, be aware. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a pandemic in itself.
Totally.
With so many people in North America that have heart disease and are being diagnosed with heart disease every day.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness, I love that. Colin, I just want to thank you so much, honey, for
thank you
coming
for
on
having me
here.
on here.
Of course, you're very,
Yeah,
very welcome. I mean, as you guys know, so I'm always trying to make sure that we talk about real life experiences. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, do you mind if people kind of reach out to
absolutely.
you if
Yeah,
they ever wanted to, ask you questions, or maybe they're curious, maybe they want to hear a little bit more about your story, or maybe they have gone through
yeah,
this and they've now heard about you and they're like, oh my goodness, how can i how can I interact with other people who are on the same boat? How are you changing your life
yeah.
to make yourself better? Do you want to share with the audience how they can contact you?
Yeah, you can, if you want to email me directly, you can contact me at Colin G. Rowat. That is COLING Rowat, ROWAT. That's all one word, at gmail.com.
Perfect. And I'll also put
Yeah,
it on the descriptions as well, you guys. And of course, you can probably also reach out to him on his Instagram. What's your
yeah.
Instagram again?
I do not know.
I think
So,
it's at Colin
Jacqui would know.
G. Rowat. I will put it on the description as well, you guys. Apparently, I handle everything. No, just kidding. All right. Well, Colin, I want to just thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I am so grateful to have you in my life. And obviously, heart disease hasn't only just affected you, it's affected both of us
Yeah,
as a family. And every day is different. We go through the motions of just learning every single time. So anyway, thank you again, Colin, for
thank you
coming
very
on.
much.
And yeah, we're gonna close off by just letting you guys know that you can also check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, as well as oh my goodness, how can I forget, on YouTube as well. But I'll put all the descriptions on our description. Thank you so much for joining us today, you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Please do not forget to leave us an awesome review, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and keep your notifications on for the next episodes ahead. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, please do not hesitate to contact us at Jacqui@rhythmfitness.ca.